This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. You know what today is? Big red letter day on Donald Trump's calendar. He's got so many of them. Today's the day he had to beam in by video into a New York criminal courthouse and courtroom for Judge Juan Merchan to be read aloud the protective order that Juan Merchan entered on the 8th of May and have him acknowledge under oath that he understood everything the judge was telling him in reading him the Riot Act about the use of information and documents he obtains as part of being a criminal defendant. There's so many firsts with Donald Trump. You know, first president to ever be twice impeached, first ex-president to ever be indicted, and now we have a new first today. It's like watching a perverse, evil LeBron James. Every day he takes the court, he sets a new record. Donald Trump, first ex-president to ever appear in a video or any other type of hearing with a criminal court judge about his own indictment. That's what we had today. Big news, though, is not only the reading of the protective order by Judge Merchan and the whole theatrics of Donald Trump with a couple of flags draped behind him with his lead criminal defense lawyer, Todd Blanche. You thought I was going to say Joe Tacopina, right? Not Joe Tacopina, Todd Blanche with his other lawyer, Susan Necklace, in the courtroom. We'll talk about the theatrics of that, of this former disgraced, defrocked former president, twice impeached, now indicted, acting like he's still a president inside of some sort of Oval Office setting at Mar-a-Lago. Put that aside for a minute. But the big news, we got a trial date. We have a trial date for the criminal trial, another first, criminal trial of an ex-president. It is going to be March the 25th, 3/25/24 if you're playing at home. And guess what else just happens to be happening then? Primaries. It's the primary season. So while Donald Trump or any other candidate would normally be preparing for the electorate in the primaries to go to the polls in Arizona, Florida, Illinois, and Ohio, Donald Trump's got to get ready for a criminal trial. And there's no way around it because that calendar is known by the judge. The judge told the parties, pick a date that works. This is the date that the two parties, the prosecutor and the defense, came up with. It's going to be a 2 or 3 week trial, I'm sure, starting March the 25th. So put that on your calendars. Now, for those that are interested, and I think it is interesting, I'm going to read for a minute the highlights of the order that Judge Merchan issued on the 8th and read to Donald Trump to have him acknowledged today. Just the highlights, please. So the court found that there was good cause exists for an order to restrict, defer, and make such order with respect to disclosure, which is documents provided by the Manhattan DA, and inspection of discoverable materials and information. And basically, it says that any documents that are provided to Donald Trump go through his defense counsel. Most of the documents, they have to babysit Donald Trump and sit there while he reviews the materials, because we all know what happened at Mar-a-Lago with documents that suddenly disappeared into his hands, sticky fingers in his hands. So that's not going to happen again. And the court's going to hold the lawyers for him responsible if anything goes missing or is disseminated to anybody else. And this is what the court said on that. It is ordered that any person who receives the covered materials, that's you, Donald Trump, and his lawyers, shall not copy, disseminate, or disclose those materials in any form or means to any third party, except to his defense lawyers, including but not limited to by disseminating or posting those materials to any news or social media platforms, including but not limited to Truth Social. Judge actually put Truth Social into the order so that there be no mistake or confusion by Donald Trump. And Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Twitter, Snapchat, or YouTube without prior approval from the court. Also, it is also ordered that the disclosure of the names and identifying information of New York County District Attorney's personnel, other than sworn members of law enforcement, assistant district attorneys, and expert or fact witnesses, shall be delayed until the commencement of jury selection, and the people of the state of New York shall be permitted to redact that information. So the judge is protecting the identity of those people that work in the Manhattan DA's office and all of that, except for the fact witnesses and the expert witnesses, because those are going to be publicly provided to Donald Trump, and we're all going to know about that. Then there's a subset of materials that Donald Trump can only look at through his defense lawyers, because nobody trusts Donald Trump. Today's Legal AF is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else needs from you and never take a moment to think about what you need from yourself. I know in my own life, I'm dealing with a lot of different pressures. Family, friends, my podcast colleagues, and work. I mean, I am a practicing attorney when I'm not podcasting, and just generally taking care of business. Because we spend all of our time giving, it can leave us feeling stretched thin and burned out. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind. Therapy, it's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries, and generally speaking, how to become the best version of yourself. And by the way, therapy isn't just for those who've experienced a major trauma. It's for everyone, because what you're going through matters. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapist anytime for no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LegalAF today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LegalAF. Now, let me disabuse everybody of one kind of concept that was going on around out there. There is no gag order. We'd like one, but the judge kind of weighing the equities of, a guy running for office against, in his own First Amendment rights to defend himself with his constant abuse and destruction of societal and judicial norms. And the way he came up with it is this: Donald Trump is not to say things that would lead the reasonable person to believe it would cause civil unrest, like Jan 6th. But short of that, he's going to be able to bash away, just like he did the day after the protective order was originally issued on the 8th of May, and he went out and gave a speech where he attacked the judge as being a Trump-hating judge with a Trump-hating wife and a Trump-hating daughter and all of that. I mean, that was right after he got the word that the protective order was issued. And so he's, like a child putting his hand on the stove. When that doesn't work, putting his face on the stove. That's what Donald Trump is going to do. And the judge is going to be patient and sober and not let his blood pressure go up and not let his heart skip more than the regular amount of beats when Donald Trump acts crazy. And the crazier that Donald Trump acts, the more calm Judge Merchan is going to act, which is really what you want from a judge, right? You want temperate, judicious, Solomonic, all those good things that you want from judges. You don't want the Trump equivalent of a judge, right? You don't want two Trumps. I mean, I would take special delight in that. That's like Lex Luthor and Superman, and we know which one Donald Trump is. But that's not really what I would expect from Judge Merchan, given his history either. Now remember, or I'm telling you for the first time, if you're just following along, there is a current other hearing in federal court, right? That will decide whether this case gets taken away from Judge Merchan, and that's going to be decided in about another month or so. Right? That's with another judge, Judge Hellerstein, a federal judge, Southern District of New York, right? Clinton appointee, who's going to decide whether that case, criminal, belongs in state court or federal court. Now, if you follow Legal AF, the podcast at the intersection of law and politics that I co-founded and co-anchor on Wednesdays and Saturdays, you'll know that my co-anchor, Ben Meiselas, and I predict that that's going to be a failure in that case of staying in state court. Even if it left state court, the Manhattan DA, state prosecutors stay with the case. It's not going to go to the federal prosecutors, and that would be Merrick Garland anyway. But it's going to stay either way. But everybody believes it stays with Judge Merchan. Even Judge Hellerstein in his own order said, until I make the decision at the end of June, Judge Merchan, you got this. Continue with all proceedings. And so we have that as a backdrop. But we have a trial date. And if it stays in state court, that's going to be the trial date. Frankly, if it goes to federal court, that's going to be around the trial date. Because, Donald Trump doesn't pick up any more rights or procedural abilities. He just wants to be in federal court, hoping to get a better jury pool, because the federal jury pool is broader than the Manhattan-based jury pool for a state court case. That's why he did it, hoping he'll go, maybe to the Second Circuit, which is the appellate court for federal, which is not going to be favorable to Donald Trump, nor is the judge that oversees the federal courts from the Supreme Court level, which is Judge Sotomayor. She's not going to be favorable to him either. So that's where we're at as of right now. Protective order read aloud. Donald Trump sitting there with Todd Blanche, his new criminal defense lawyer, in Mar-a-Lago, wearing a dark blue suit with a frown on his face, with his hands folded, some sort of document in front of him, some sort of phony Oval Office West Wing set that he's sitting on, down at Mar-a-Lago. Susan Necklace, his lawyer, in the courtroom. Joe Tacopina, I like to call Joe coloring book Tacopina, always looks like he's doing nothing. He wasn't even in the courtroom. That doesn't look good for Donald Trump. May have lost another lawyer in the case. And prosecutors are there. Trial date set, protective order read aloud. Donald Trump acknowledged the existence of it, zoomed out, clicked off, hearing over. We will follow everything that happens in that courtroom, all the procedures between now and March that will happen. It'll go by like that. And of course, the other backdrop that will follow is the other set of criminal indictments, the other Manhattan DA prosecutions. If Donald Trump thinks the only one he's going to face in Manhattan is the ones related to Stormy Daniels and the hush money payoff, he's got another thing coming, because Alvin Bragg is leaning on the 50-year longtime chief financial officer, Alan Weisselberg, fresh out of prison, to get him to flip on Donald Trump for bigger and badder crimes to be prosecuted in New York, while Fani Willis, the Fulton County, Georgia DA, is going to be seeking her indictments against Donald Trump and others at the end of July, with an announcement on the streets of Atlanta in the beginning to mid-August. That's the calendar. That is the buzzsaw of a calendar Donald Trump and his various lawyers, coming and going, quitting and arriving, have to face. We'll keep track of it so you don't have to. I sit at the intersection of law and politics for these politically charged litigation matters, and I report on them about every day on hot takes just like this one. If you like what I'm doing, you like this kind of content, give me a thumbs up, leave some messages in comments. I do read them. And you can follow me on all things social media at MS Popak. This is Michael Popak, Legal AF reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.